Hey everyone, welcome to the 33rd episode of the Wheels of Walking Podcast, the podcast with a guy in a wheelchair and a guy not in a wheelchair.
What up?
It's also early and hot. If you'll notice, we're wearing skimpy gym clothes.
Yes, we're wearing tank tops because Richard's AC is broken. Yay!
The summertime episode.
And so predictable too. Like every year, twice a year, guaranteed my unit goes out. And why, I have no idea. But like when it gets a certain level of heat where it has to run basically all day, it just like craps out because during the winter it didn't have to run. And then
So it's out of shape. It hasn't been running.
Yes. And then in the wintertime, I sleep cold in the wintertime or the summertime, doesn't matter. It barely runs at all. So when it is running, it like finds a way to break. Like I don't understand it. It's like works out too much, breaks. Doesn't work out enough, breaks.
So basically, we're in a sauna, and I've been complaining about how I haven't been able to go to a sauna. So now I'm really excited because I'm about to sweat for the next 90 minutes.
Is it sauna or sauna?
Maybe if you're from a different country, they might say sauna. Like they'd be like,
Julia.
all right, guys, we're going to get in the sauna.
Into the sauna.
You're going to step into the sauna, okay? So the first thing you'll notice is it's very, very hot, but you will get used to it.
Yeah, Jalila says words strange sometimes, and sauna is one of them.
Why?
Her
Would you say it like that?
A, E, I, O, and U, her vowels. That's what I've come to find out is most accents are just different vowel sounds. Like if you're from one, it's like A, E, I, O, U.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
Or like E, I, O, U. Like it's whatever your vowel sounds are is usually what defines.
Yeah, and in
your
Spanish,
accent.
I is E and E is A.
I don't know enough about Spanish.
Yeah, right. Isn't that correct? Like E is A or E,
I'm not the guy to
E.
ask.
I is E because it's like C.
I is E, but I am me.
And
You
you
are
are
you?
you? And what is that from? That
I don't know.
stupid twin song
I
or
don't know.
something?
It's got a dope beat. It's
I
like
am me,
it's like
me.
who are you? I am me. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. It's from like TikTok or something. I've seen it.
Yeah, but there's like
There's a real song.
It's like a Tyler the Creator song.
Is it
behind it?
I thought it was. I don't even know. Whatever. People let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments down below what the heck we're talking about. Oh, you know what I was gonna say?
If you like
so
popsicles.
another thing that's interesting about this podcast is this is the earliest we've ever recorded, isn't it?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Well, we got here at 8. It's now almost 9 because we kind of like whatever.
I didn't even sleep here. It was so
we
hot.
argued for an hour.
We argued for an hour.
That is true. That is true. That is
Not
true.
a whole hour. But I was thinking about this on the way here. That there was AJ, did you ever listen to 104.7 The Fish growing up?
Yes, I did.
no.
So
Every
there's a
single morning.
Christian radio station in Atlanta called 104.7 The Fish. And
Chad and Stacy in the morning.
No,
104 The Fish.
It was Kevin and Taylor in the morning.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
God.
what I was gonna say. So in the morning they'd go, "We're up too stinking early with Kevin and Taylor in the morning on 104.7 The Fish," and they'd say too stinking early because it was a Christian show.
Dude, morning
So
show radio hosts I feel so bad for because they have to start their shit at like
5
a.m. They run from 5 to 9 nonstop or like 5 to 10 nonstop.
Yeah,
Like that's
and they have to be like so over the top energetic.
wild, stinky in the butt. Like yeah, dude, I stayed over at Jalila's house and I the night before like packed up the coffee machine. And so all I had to do was turn it on, and my first alarm went off at like 7:15. I was like, I'm smart. I'm smart enough to smart myself out because I know better because I have a second alarm coming soon. And then the second alarm came, and I turned it off, but then the snooze from the first alarm hit me again, and I was like, oh, this is so annoying.
Dude, I slept so bad last night because AJ's like, same, dude.
I slept terrible last night.
Dude, so I tried to go to bed early. Like, I got in bed at like 10:30.
I remember you were like, all right, we're all going to commit to getting up early. We got to sleep early. We're going to get up early.
Well, I mean, if you go to bed at like midnight and wake up at like 7, that's still 7 hours.
It's
like,
decent.
it's not bad.
It's decent. Yeah, I agree.
So anyways, but I got in bed at like 10:30, but I was like, I wanted to watch something, and I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and they were talking about the Jeffrey Epstein documentary.
I wanted to see
So
that.
I
haven't
started
seen it
watching.
yet.
It's like a 4 4-part series, kind of like Tiger King was.
Oh, okay.
But I started watching it, and I finished the first episode, and then I started on the second episode. By the way, very disturbing. Like, it's not a fun documentary. Like,
I've heard
he is a very prolific pedophile. Like, I did not realize how they set it up really nicely, because they're like, no, this guy 100% is a big piece of shit right off the bat. And I did not really like. I knew some murmurings of like, oh, he's got this fuck island where he like fucks little kids and stuff. Like, I knew that part of the story, but he was doing it far in advance and had been tried for this like soliciting prostitution from a minor, like as a full case previously
in Miami.
Yeah. So anyways, the whole first episode is about that. And dude, I fell asleep watching the second episode, and I had really fucked up dreams.
Nightmares, yeah.
Because it was still playing on my phone as I was sleeping. And I woke up at like, I don't even know, it was like 1:30 or something. And my phone was charging with a power brick, and it had gotten stuck under my pillow, so it was overheating. So like my hand and my head were like sweating. And then not only that, I was having like the worst fucked up dream literally about like Jeffrey Epstein and stuff. And then like I woke up like sweating and freaking out and like not knowing what the heck was going on, because my dream wasn't over because the video was still playing. And then I'm just like oh God. And
like
then
rushing to turn it off.
Yeah, it was so bad. And then when I woke up this morning, I still had weird dreams all night. One was about like Russia or something. It was super odd. But then when I woke up this morning, I did the same thing. I set my alarm for 7, but I didn't set up a backup alarm. And I did fall back asleep for a second. And I woke up at like 7:12.
You got to be smart enough to know that you're going to play yourself.
I know.
You're going to play yourself in the morning. I know I'm always going to play myself.
I set like 9 alarms normally, but I was just like lazy last night, and I have a Google Home. So I just said the buzzword, and I said like, okay, blank, set an alarm for 7 o'clock, and it did. And but then to turn it off, all you just do is like, okay, blank, stop, and then it just stops. It doesn't like snooze it. So then I'm just like, oh snap. But anyways, we all got here.
Yeah, what I know about that Epstein documentary is that they mostly highlighted victims. They didn't really dive too deep into him. There was a lot of allusion, like they alluded to, the other people he was involved in, but involved with. But what I understand about Epstein is no one really knew what he did. He just moved money around, and I guess he was the fixer. Like, he would just fix problems by moving money around, whatever that even means.
Well, his clients were all like billionaires.
Yeah, like his major, huge, massive clients, and it's like, again, I don't know much about it, but I guess when you reach a certain point in your life where everything is obtainable because you have an infinite supply of money, what is taboo and what is unobtainable? Underage, like you start to go after things you can't get. And I guess, yeah. And I think that's how a lot of people.
But it wasn't like he was having to spend like tons of money to do it. He was just offering these girls like $200 to give them massages and stuff.
No, I know, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like,
so weird.
Like, I think a lot of times, like, even when it comes to like people that consume pornography, like it goes, it starts a certain kind of.
It starts very vanilla and then ends up like super niche and weird, and then before you know it, you're watching like midget gagged porn.
Yeah, you're watching like some really like,
something obscure,
like crazy hardcore.
You're watching
stuff.
Paraplegic leg
Feet.
porn.
Yeah, so it gets really hardcore, and it's like, do you then step outside of pornography? Do you go to the strip club? Do you try to get like real people online? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you up your freak desire?
Yeah,
how do you do that? And I guess it makes sense. This was not a planned topic, but this is, it's like what kind of terrifying stuff are people up to? And I do want to check it out. There's a lot of stuff
there's
like
recently. 5 documentaries I'm like wanting to watch right now.
I've been wanting to watch the 13th.
I want to watch 13th. There's also another one with like Michael B. Jordan that's apparently free on YouTube right now. It's not a documentary, it's just a movie, I think. Obviously, he's like, but it's another one. I
love Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, and then there's another documentary that I've been trying to watch. I feel like I'm hearing like static or something, some kind of noise. I don't know.
But could it possibly be this charger that I'm using?
Maybe. I don't know. But either way, I don't hear it when I'm not talking, so whatever. If you guys are annoyed by it, sorry. But there's the Michael Jordan documentary. I've been meaning to watch that.
Yeah, the actual Michael Jordan documentary.
I want to watch that when I'm not like about to like go to sleep or something though. I want to watch that.
You want to like proper
motivated.
like actual pay attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that way when I was listening to like Kevin Hart's podcast.
Yeah, he talked about it
on Joe Rogan, and then even like Drake had a really cool documentary on YouTube. I forget what it was, but they basically like talked to him about his entire music journey. And
was it a documentary or an interview?
An interview.
I was gonna say I think I watched that. It was like those two guys interviewing him.
I can't remember, to be honest, but I got about an hour through.
It was in his house.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
It was good.
Logan Paul talked about how it was so good. He would pause it and start taking notes, and I didn't feel that it was compelling enough to stop and take notes. But
there's some people that like are so into Drake that they would like worship the ground he walks on. Like there was this one dude in this MLM that I was in that was so obsessed with Drake.
I mean, our friend Ian is obsessed with Drake.
Yeah, Ian's obsessed with Drake. But,
What
but this
up,
guy
Ian?
Alex Morton, he would like he was like his life goal to like basically be like the Drake of his industry. And every speech he would do, he'd talk about Drake.
We're going to be the Uber of Drake, okay? We're going to be the Drake of Uber of our industry.
Yeah, literally. And he would, but he met him one time and he like wouldn't stop talking about the one time he met him. Because it was like at some nightclub and blah, blah, blah. It was funny. It's like Fousey. Like he's like, we locked eyes and he knew that I was going to be there. You know, like people don't know what I'm talking about. Whatever.
That is... I know exactly what you're talking about. I've watched those videos twice.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So because we did like a special episode last week, there was a lot of topics we didn't get to cover, so we're going to go ahead and cover them now. But
well, I thought we were going to do those at the end. The videos.
Oh, yeah, snap. Duh, that was the bad
transition. But it ties in because the last episode we did was all about like Black Lives Matter and your sister came on. Seemed like we got a really positive response from it. A lot of good comments. And like the views on YouTube were pretty good. It was like double the amount that we were getting pretty consistently.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, I even on Instagram made a post where I like looked through all my followers, or not followers, people that I'm following that are black leaders in the disabled community, and I made a post about black disabled leaders you should follow. And that post on my page didn't really get too much attention. Like it got like 60 comments and maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500 likes. But
nothing.
But it had like so many sends and so many shares and so many story reposts that like even my notification center like couldn't keep up with all of like the story reposts.
Oh really?
So it spread out, and then I saw a lot of people imitating that post as well, which is really cool. I like that. I love it when people
rip us off.
Copy what I do. Well, it's like inspiration. It's like, it's the biggest form of flattery is imitation. So
yeah, there's been a lot of things in the industry that once we do something, we like see it pop up a bunch of places and we're like,
Dude, we can literally do like one theme that we've never seen anyone do before, and then all of a sudden everyone's doing that theme, and it's like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good, but I can't complain. But so, and then even Andrew has the ability to go to more I think like serious, more aggressive, more in downtown like marches and protests and stuff because he's fully able-bodied. He could run away from any type of police encounters. He could defend himself if he needed to, and I couldn't really do that.
Because you're a bitch.
Yes.
Andrew could defend himself. I, on the other hand, I'm a bitch. No,
Dude,
I'm just kidding.
If I was trying to run away from tear gas and there was a single curb cut, game over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if someone was trying to shoot me with rubber bullets, I'm toast.
I'm getting hit.
I'm on blood thinners. I might die from a rubber bullet.
No, like literally. And actually, I was seeing some people posting about that. They're like, I want to like go to a protest, but I'm really afraid of like the police and stuff because it's very common that disabled people will be victims of police brutality and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty
especially
terrible.
Disabled people of color.
It's really terrible. I was reading some stats on that and watching again one of these people that I follow, but I was just trying to do the best I could. There's a guy I know that I used to work with at Apple named Preston, and one of his current coworkers, I think he still works at Apple, was making these peaceful protest kits, which is basically everything to kind of arm yourself, like glasses and, electrolyte mix and, like ID lanyards and, anything to make yourself, a way to carry a phone number on, whatever. And I promoted that on my story, and I think, over 2,000 or so people saw it. So if you guys were one of those people, and if you guys decided to purchase some of the items, thank you. That was really helpful. And this is the kind of stuff where it's like, I do what I can, when I can, how I can.
Yeah.
I went to one protest on Sunday, and it was a really small town that was outside of the city, and it was like a church. It was like a church organized thing, and I honestly wish I would have known it was a church organized thing at first, because I probably wouldn't have gone, because the first 30 minutes they were just talking about.
It was supposed to be like kid friendly and stuff, right?
Yeah, it was like social distancing, kid friendly.
Dude, I've seen so many things be like, it's a social distancing enforced. By who?
Well, not enforced, but suggested. People wearing masks. Yeah. It's everyone's crowded together, but
yeah.
But
they say social distancing on the flyer, but there is no social distancing happening.
Yeah,
6 feet my ass.
But I remember like the protest was from like, it was like an hour long basically, and the first 30 minutes we just listened to like 3 different pastors and preachers like tell a story about some nonsense on stage, and I was like, so can we like actually like protest, and can we actually like?
Where was it, at like a city hall or something?
Clarkston. Clarkston, Georgia.
But like what? Where were you on the side of the road? Or
no,
like,
it was.
Were
like,
you? Was there anyone passing by that would see your protest, or was it like?
No, enclosed? It was pretty much like a PR stunt for a church, honestly.
Yeah,
like
that's the thing about a protest.
We walked like less than a mile in a circle with a bunch of people that were all wearing like church gear. Like you could tell they were promoting the church or whatever.
Yeah,
and
which is fine.
Yeah,
the thing that is funny is, if you are having a protest,
you gotta make yourself.
You have
visible.
to have an audience,
or
else it doesn't really matter.
The audience was ourselves and people taking pictures and uploading it on their social media
fine.
And stuff.
That's fine. I don't want to, I don't want to shame anyone for doing a protest. And also, if it's like a kid-friendly protest or something, like you don't necessarily want to have, be on the side of the road, because some like angry person could drive off the side of the road and like run into the crowd or something. Like, that's not cool at all.
A small part of the city kind of closed off.
Yeah, I went to a small one on, I can't remember when it was. It was about a week ago. I think it might have been last Tuesday or something like that. I don't remember. Or maybe it was last Thursday. I honestly cannot remember. It was last Thursday because it was the date we recorded the podcast on Wednesday that week, didn't we?
And we released Wednesday night, yeah.
Wednesday night, and we released it on Thursday. AJ worked double time. Props to AJ. But I remember I went to it the next day because because after the last episode I hadn't gone to anything, and it was very similar. Like the first speaker, like all the speakers were like from a church and stuff. But then we did actually like march, which was really cool because we like marched down this one street and then kind of just made like a loop down this one main like highway, and it was cool. The police were like super involved. They like blocked the road for us and stuff actually, which blocked up traffic for quite some time. And then at the end, I think the hardest thing about a lot of protests is like, how do they wrap up? And also there's like a curfew happening in Georgia, so like once it gets to close to curfew time, that's typically when all the trouble starts to happen.
Wasn't there, and I'm going to just briefly mention this, and I think I saw you post this on your story. There, excuse me, I'm about to cough. A lot of the arrests for violating curfew were illegal arrests because the expansion of the curfew, the early curfew, wasn't done lawfully. So if you were arrested in Atlanta, at least
in Georgia,
if you were arrested for curfew issues, you can contact certain places and certain people and certain attorneys, and I don't remember the exact.
There's a lot of attorneys that are offering free legal services for people that got arrested because of curfew or because of protesting, but one thing that was happening and is happening is this thing called police kettling, where they basically will take a peaceful protest and trap them in an area. So for example, if you were in Centennial Olympic Park in Atlanta, there's only so many entrances. So they would block those entrances and not let people leave and basically trap them in there until the curfew. And then once the curfew hit, then they would just barge in and arrest everyone in the park because then they were violating curfew.
That's so messed
The funny
up.
thing about curfew is that the curfew has nothing to do with being in a place of business, but all places of business were like shutting down. The thing about curfew is you're not allowed to be on the sidewalk. You're not allowed to be like walking around. But it's funny because it's like, how am I supposed to get from my car to a place?
But you can
know?
drive.
You're allowed to drive, and you're allowed to because I mean, what about essential workers and stuff? And that was the most fucked up thing about the curfew is the people that it affected the most were the people that they wanted to arrest. And that's because primarily it was people that relied on public transportation, which in Atlanta, a lot of the people that use public transportation are people that are, for lack of a better word, poor, low income.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are people of color. And a lot of them were not even protesting or having anything to do with the protest. But the first day that the curfew got instated, they gave no warning. The warning that came on my phone, it said the curfew for Atlanta is 9 p.m. tonight. And I got that notification at 9:14 p.m. So it was 14 minutes after the curfew had already been enforced that I was informed about the curfew. MARTA, the public transportation in Atlanta, did not give any sort of warning. It wasn't like when you got on MARTA that morning, they go, hey, by the way, we're closing at this time. No warning was made for MARTA. So anyone that took MARTA to wherever they were going had no idea that they weren't going to be able to take MARTA back to where they were going to. So it's just a giant mess. And another instance of corruption and, also just poor communication by the city and all that. But I ended up going to a protest downtown in Atlanta on Saturday, and it was awesome. And actually, the whole time we were marching, I probably only saw 4 or 5 police officers until the very end. Like there was pretty much no police interference, which was really cool.
I think people are starting to figure out, and I think even the police and like the mayors and everyone are starting to figure out that like just leave the protesters alone because it appears, because honestly, it's like, I don't know how to contextually say this too much, but it's like you bring protesters and police together. Protesters are trying to do what they want to do,
and a lot of the protesters are mad at the police. Like a lot of the protest is against the police.
Yeah, and
it's nothing to do with these specific police officers standing in front of you, but they represent police as a whole.
Yeah, and the police are trying to do their job, which is enforce law. I mean, they're law enforcement. So
technically public safety.
So there's clashing, and whether it's, protesters' fault or cops' fault or whoever's fault it is, people are figuring out, just remove the cops and things are fine.
Well, because in the beginning, all the attention was put on the looting and the rioting and the fires and all that. But really, I haven't heard anything about looting and fires and all that since the first few days. Like
it was just
the first couple days,
just opportunists.
Yeah,
man.
and I think it's funny because a lot of the conversation is still focused on that, and it's like, hey, we've kind of moved past that. There's been peaceful protests in every single state all around, and also in cities all around the world. Apparently, it's the largest civil rights movement in history because there's so many countries and cities and people involved.
It's international too. Yeah,
and,
it's crazy.
I think it's really cool because it's this time where everyone, I feel like, including white people and people and non-black people, have been feeling a lot of this tension and feeling a lot of these feelings, but never had like one moment to be like, let's fix it.
Like a catalyst moment, like an eruption or like a...
And like because of this eruption, it really does feel like something can happen. And also it feels like, hey, while we're fixing this, let's reimagine how we can fix so many different systems. It's like, while we're fucking up the system over here, let's redo all of this. Like I people are talking about, reimagining what public safety would look like. I think that's a great thing. I think that it's really silly to think that police can just fix all of our problems whenever we have an emergency. Like, call 911. You're either going to get ambulance, which also means police. You're going to get firemen, which also means police. And then anything else, police.
Well, what I find interesting is I listened to a cop talking about this. He goes, we are asking the police to do too much. Mm-hmm. It's like
agreed.
It's like we are handling domestic disturbances. We are handling mental health issues. It's like we're doing way more than our original scope, so we're overwhelmed and undertrained to take care of anything. And it's like,
and the police budget keeps getting bigger, but the amount of people signing up to be on the police and the amount of police officers is actually going down. So it's like we're pumping all this money into police, but meanwhile, we're not seeing the benefit of it because it doesn't seem like things are necessarily getting better. They're not. I wouldn't even necessarily say in a lot of places they're quote unquote getting worse. I don't know. It's hard to like measure that, but it's like they're definitely not measurably getting better. And I think you're right. I think when you call 911, it should be that dispatcher should figure out, okay, which of these like 7 different people should we send out?
What kind
should
of
there be a
emergency
social
is this?
worker who's trained in domestic violence to be sent out? Should there be a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something that goes out
or an interventionist
or an interventionist that talks to people dealing with addiction or suicidal thoughts or depression or whatever the case might be? And I think a lot of the stereotypical cop, the reason why you might not, like, you might be like, man, it'd be kind of cool to be a cop because I think I could really help people with this specific thing, but I don't want to get involved in any like shootouts. I don't want to get involved in any kind of like, so like the lowest common denominator is someone who's willing to like fight. You know what I mean? Like someone that's like, I don't want to get involved in anything like physical altercations. I don't want to be like jumping on people, making arrests. And I think those type of people, like a person that might sign up to be a bouncer at a club or something, are the types of people that end up signing up for the police force. Or they're just power tripping, or they just,
or someone who had no prospects after high school, because they focused only on athletics and not academics.
And it's no knock on like military either, but I think it's kind of the same. A lot of the same type of people that might sign up for the military would, maybe they didn't make it into the military, and so they sign up to be a police officer or whatever.
There's a lot of people when they come out of the military join the police force,
and I think those are the best people to join the police force because they've been trained in military stuff,
really trained.
Like I think almost exclusively the people that really should be in those. I mean, when we think about the show Cops, the most exciting episodes are the ones where they do something crazy. The most exciting episodes of Cops aren't like some little thing where
some like constant de-escalation, no conflict.
Yeah, and it's like police have been trained to just escalate things because that's like, I think probably a lot of them are almost like addicted to the adrenaline. They're addicted to the power, addicted to the adrenaline. You can look at studies of, I don't remember what the study was called, but it's that study where they, at that university where they took like
Stanford prison experiment.
Yeah, where they took half the students and made them prison guards and half the other students and made them prisoners. And before you knew it, the prison guards were treating the other students like shit, even though a couple of days ago they were on equal playing fields and they were just all students together. And it's just an instance that like when you give people power, they will abuse it eventually. I
think it's human nature.
And I think that's why even like slavery continued to exist for so long, because it was like, I think a lot of people knew what they were doing at the time. Like, for example, if you were a white person and you didn't own slaves and you stood up for slavery, you'd be like an outcast. You'd be like ostracized from the community. So it'd be like, if you wanted to, live in society and just like not ruffle anyone's feathers and whatever, you kind of just went along with it. And I think that's kind of like not on the same extreme level as what's happening right now, but it's like, I see police injustice. We listened to Dave Chappelle's stand-up from 1996 the other day, and he's talking about all the same issues that we're talking about right now.
If you haven't,
police brutality against black people.
If you guys haven't, it's called Killing Them Softly. It's on HBO or HBO Go.
I just realized that title is really intense. Killing Them Softly.
Killing Them Softly. Yeah. It is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best Dave Chappelle stand-ups, period. It is so really good. It's like you will bend over, like belly laughing,
But a lot of it is laughing. Like, damn, that's too accurate. Like he said it so funny, but it's like that's still so fucked up that like
really
that's
messed up.
It's funny because it's like
that's
based
what comedy
in reality.
is. That's what comedy is, though, is taking a very serious subject and bringing awareness to it through humor and laughter.
Dave Chappelle is the best. I think he's the best stand-up comedian of all time. I love Dave Chappelle. But yeah, like. It's weird because right now we're in a society where I think a lot of people realize that there's a lot of injustice and there's a lot of things that America as a country and as a whole has done, but no one person has ever been like, yeah, that's how it is, but like, what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Excuse me. And I think like, I think right now is that time where we're all going to be able to stand up and be like, yo, hey, America, it's pretty fucked up that like, we built this country on the back of slavery. It's also really fucked up that we like came here and stole land from the Native Americans. And I mean, yeah, we gave them like some reservations and yeah, like, now slavery isn't a thing, but that's not good enough, And I think that conversation with your sister definitely opened my eyes to a lot of that.
Yeah, for real. I saw this one thing where people were talking about like all of the terrible injustices that also happen to Native Americans as well.
Oh, yeah.
And how those people are the most forgotten because they're all put into this little itty bitty corner of a little itty bitty map, like reservations basically. And they have hardly any support. There's a lot of...
And that community is not doing well.
There's
typically.
a lot of drug abuse, a lot of alcohol abuse, a lot of poverty, a lot of physical abuse, like a lot of rape. Like it's unfortunate. And the government is terrible to them. Like someone was like, we haven't deployed military forces on Americans since 18 something something. And it's like, how about 2006?
Standing Rock, bro.
Yeah. Remember when you guys did that at like, what are you talking about? Like
there's this one guy on Instagram that I've been following a lot in Atlanta. His name is Ryan Visions. I think it's like Ryan Vizzons. And I'm pretty sure that's how you spell it. But he is really a really avid like photographer activist. Like he's like super involved in all this stuff. And he like the protests are happening right now. Everyone goes to a protest maybe a couple times, whatever, and then you go home. If you were protesting at Standing Rock, you were in a tent. You did not go home. You were there. You were living there at Standing Rock. Like it was literally in the middle of nowhere. And if you were going there to protest, you were living there. And the government aimed... You remember Iron Man when there was that one scene where he has those missiles that like that giant, like the Jericho missile or whatever he has, is that giant, those boxes of missiles and they aim it at the mountain. They had those things aimed at the Standing Rock camp and the words that they used was like,
to intimidate, honestly.
No, they didn't even say that. They said they said some word that was such a slap in the face. Like we're using this to protect the safety of everyone there or something like that. And it's like, no, you're doing that to intimidate everyone there into leaving because you know that the full force of the military is being focused on this small group of literally campers. I mean, all they had was tents. They were camping at Standing Rock.
Yeah, I remember they released dogs. They would spray them with like water hoses. They were trying to like gas them out. Like
and
it was all because they were protesting an oil line going through their water source or something like that.
Something along those lines. It was something to do with fracking or something like that. I'm not well versed enough in that subject, but they were like, yeah, the last time military forces have been used against American citizens, like, nah, dude, that happened like not too long ago, and no one wants to talk about
People
that.
want to quickly forget.
But Ryan, he's been posting a lot on his story and talking about this, like he's like, yo, I ain't new to this shit. It's not like this came to Atlanta and I'm just like being a photographer talking about activism and blah blah. He's like, I've been in this shit. I ain't just talking about black people. I'm standing up for everybody. And like that's super. Some people will be like, oh, he's just a social justice warrior. It's like, nah, dude, he's on the front lines, like doing real shit, And so props to him.
I feel like there's a lot of people that finally have their voice. Like for example, like Kaepernick and Sean King, both of those guys have been obviously pushing and working towards this for a very long time, and then finally this happens and people are now more willing to listen, they're more willing to take action, they're more willing to do stuff. It's like
I just miss Sean King. I think originally when the whole first like round of Black Lives Matter stuff came out, I remember like one of the biggest things in politics that they'll do. Did you say
you missed him or dismissed him?
I dismissed him.
Okay.
I saw what he was doing, but I was like, oh, this guy's a phony because this. And in politics, a lot of what happens is immediately the first move is to attack your character, and then because they've attacked your character, now everything that you say is invalid. Because
that's a straw man argument.
Yeah, it's and that's why people like Milo Yiannopoulos or Candace Owens are so big, because they in theory, based on how they look and how their gender identity is and how their sexual identity is and all these things,
the left
you
can't
think
attack them. Yeah.
that they're a certain way, but then they start talking like this and you go, what?
You're like, a black female who hates black people? What? But she's a black female. I can't criticize her. It's like
A flaming gay dude
flaming
that's a
gay
super
man who's
conservative
super conservative? Huh? Yeah.
doesn't not compute. And those two people in particular, gained a lot of traction because they were saying all the things that Candace Owens is saying all the things that the racist guys want to say but can't say because they're white, and people will say, oh, you don't understand, it's the blah blah blah, but then she comes along and she
just repeats.
You can't make those same arguments against her, and yeah, but either way, like, not, yeah. They'll attack your character, and a lot of times I've seen that happening a lot with like George Floyd. People are like, this guy was a drug addict. When they did the autopsy, they found fentanyl and methamphetamines in his system. Why are we making this guy our martyr? And it's like, okay, fuck George Floyd then. Okay, like he didn't deserve to die.
Forget him.
He didn't deserve to die. But yeah, maybe he's not our martyr. But you know who is our martyr? Freaking Breonna Taylor. Because that shit, at least with George Floyd,
there might have been a drug dealer in her apartment complex. Maybe there might have been one.
Well, the funny thing is the guy. So for people that don't know the Breonna Taylor case, just a brief overview. She was an essential worker. She was an EMT. She like won awards for like how good she was.
And she was on the way to being a nurse. Like she was,
an upstanding citizen of society,
an impeccable human being.
And in the middle of the night, police broke into her apartment by force. They busted down her door.
It's got a no-knock warrant.
Yeah, they had a no-knock warrant. They busted down her door because they were looking for someone that apparently had drugs or something like that.
Someone they thought was at that address.
Yes. Her boyfriend got up and called 911. Actually, the first thing he did was call 911. Little did he know that the police were the ones at his door. Then he got his gun, and I believe he was the one who fired the first shot at the police officers because there was intruders in his home.
I mean, anyone would do that, right?
I mean, I think
if I had a gun and someone busted into my door, you better bet your ass they're going to get blasted.
Especially if they have guns,
they're going to get blasted. I'm not going to take time to think about, is that a cop? No, I'm blasting. You're in my house.
Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Always Sunny meme. So anyways, I started blasting. And so he shot at police. Police shot back and fired something like 24 shots, 8 of which shot Breonna, killed Breonna. The boyfriend was then taken into custody and arrested.
He was charged
for something. He was arrested.
He was charged for shooting a cop.
Yeah, basically. And
even though the cops were the ones that busted into his house.
Exactly. And the icing on the cake, the real straw that broke the camel's back there is the guy that they were looking for had already been arrested previously that day and was already in police custody. So the whole thing was unnecessary because the guy that they were quote unquote looking for
was already
in jail. So the whole thing was 100% unnecessary. And it's like, now you can't put the toothpaste back in the toothpaste bottle. It's like, you can't undo any of this. Breonna's dead. The boyfriend luckily has had the charges removed, but the police just tried to straight up cover it up and silence the voices. And that story is something that has probably happened so many times, but didn't get the attention that it deserved. Because when you quote unquote, like Candace Owens wants to say like, well, if you look at the statistics and blah, blah, blah. Well, the thing is, like we were talking about earlier, is like when you run an internal investigation on your own company and no one is running any sort of checks and balances on this shit.
What's the accountability, right?
There's no accountability. So in the case of Breonna Taylor, it's been 3 weeks or
months.
3 months since that investigation started. And yesterday they released their investigation, their documents, and it was 4 pages, should have been hundreds of pages, and most of it is blank.
It's empty, yeah.
And when it said injuries for Breonna Taylor, it literally said none on the sheet. like the level of incompetence is maddening, and the only explanation I have is that they are literally just trying to spit in the faces of all the protesters and her family.
Well, this is what I think it is. In order to get that investigation out, right, there has to be someone their job is to compile that information. Their job is also, they're an internal person. Their job is also to talk to all the police and try to get them to cooperate. Dude, no one wants to admit guilt ever, and that's the problem.
No, and you can invoke the fifth. You cannot say anything. And you can say I invoke my right.
And that's the big thing. Well, there's also this thing called something immunity. I forget what it's called, but I'll chat on that later. This is something that Andrew and I were arguing about earlier, and I said something and then stepped it back, but I'm making it very clear now. In the context of internal investigations and in the context of police investigations, and especially an internal police investigation, nothing ever happens ever. Like the guaranteed way to get people to shut up and leave you alone is to say, we've opened up an investigation, we're looking into it. But it's like, that's literally like me stealing some shit and be like, you got caught, you stole stuff, and be like, no, I did it. I'm opening up an investigation. I'm looking into it.
I will let you know if I stole some stuff.
I'll let you know. And then later I'll give you a written report, be like, I was walking down the road. I bent down to tie my shoe. I kept walking. I did not steal from that store. And then I give you my official investigation and say, see, look, I didn't steal. I did an investigation. I gave you the papers, and look, I'm innocent. I didn't steal.
That's the problem with the American police system, is that it seems like cops are the only ones who are like allowed to break the law. I mean, you hear it all the time. Like, you get pulled over for speeding, and like a cop pulls you over, and you're like, oh, dude, I'm a cop too. And they're like, okay, go on.
I've heard of cops letting other cops go because they had higher ranking than them, but they were like in the middle of a DUI. They were blasted drunk.
Yeah.
And they were like,
well, because if you think about it, dude, like it's kind of similar to like Jeffrey Epstein. It's like, why didn't these people speak out? Because they knew that they were young. I'm just a 16-year-old girl. What am I going to say? This guy's a billionaire and would threaten my family's life. I mean, like, he did crazy things. He would get people to leave like severed cat heads on people's doorsteps to silence them and shit. Like, he would literally leave like a single bullet on people's doorsteps to just be like, watch the fuck out and don't say shit.
Like silent
Vanity
forms of
Fair.
intimidation.
Vanity Fair was gonna. This was in the first episode. Vanity Fair was gonna run an article about him. And when the journalist went to, because it was supposed to be a lifestyle piece, like, oh, let's do a thing on Jeffrey Epstein in New York City. He's like this really famous guy, but no one really knows anything about him.
Rich philanthropist who hangs
let's
out
learn
with all
more about this guy.
Yeah.
He seems really interesting. And then it was like, yo, actually, by the way, I know these girls that have a really crazy story about Jeffrey Epstein. You should go talk to them. And then that opened up a whole can of worms of all this pedophilia stuff.
And they found all the investigations that happened down in Miami. And
yeah. So anyways, but then Vanity Fair didn't run the article the way that the journalist wanted it to, because they were getting death threats and stuff. Like, the editor got death threats. The head of Vanity Fair was getting death threats. She was getting death threats. It's like, at one point, they're like, hey, it's not worth it. And also, our legal team is not big enough to take on this guy, so we're just not going to run the story. And that's what sucks. And that's another big thing with the judicial system, too. We have this, like, crazy system of, like, bail, where you can just pay enough. Once they set a certain amount of money, like, oh, yeah, your bail is $1 million. For people that have $1 million, they're like, cool, I'm getting out of jail now.
People that have... So, let me put it... I heard this is a great quote. So... It's not even a quote. So I read it on the internet, so obviously take it with a grain of salt.
So obviously it's true.
So there was this girl, she was saying that she knew a guy in college who would continually commit crimes. He would park in no parking zones, he would litter, he would steal things, etc. And he would always refer to them of how much it costs. Be like, oh, that's a no parking zone. He's like, oh, a ticket's $95, but like it only costs $95 to park there. Like, he would steal something, be like, oh, that only costs $500. Like,
if you get caught.
Like, all of his crimes were dollar amounts, and he would just do crimes that were like under $1,000.
That reminds me of the Dave Chappelle thing, where he's like, black people are experts in law and also the punishments of law. He's like, don't do that, man. That's 5 to 10.
Don't do that. He's like, an old dude will pop out of nowhere and be like, don't do that. That's 5 to 10. He's like, we know the law. We know the law and the penalties.
Yeah, exactly.
That's messed up, man.
And yeah, and that's the hardest thing about all of this is, like, we need something that who polices the police, you know?
No
and
one.
That's not our job. That shouldn't be the citizen's job. And it's becoming very, very, very blatantly obvious over the past couple weeks of in America, police have gone mad with power. They are not afraid to use police brutality, even when there's cameras rolling, even
military grade police brutality.
Yeah,
They are full on like driving around in tanks.
Well, that's the National Guard
with
but
battle gear and stuff like that.
That's National Guard, but the same thing is happening with police because
police are militarized.
They're giving them military grade stuff. I mean, even tear gas. That's a war crime.
Yeah.
But we're using it against our own citizens. Like we've deemed it too cruel to use in times of war, but we'll use it against our own citizens. It's so messed up. I saw a funny
thing. It's like if the United States saw what the United States was doing to its own citizens, it would send the military to the United States to liberate itself from itself.
Yeah, 100%.
And we've done this before. We've literally gone into countries that are having this type of disruption and helped stabilize them, quote unquote, by going in there and
having military presence,
and either like killing or overthrowing or having military presence or whatever the situation is. And it's like, and then we've got this president who is constantly escalating and egging on and causing problems. And even to go back to the cops thing too, it's like there's this thing called blue lining where it's basically like if you try to like narc or snitch or like, you know, try to get one of your fellow cops in trouble, like you get personally attacked, your family gets attacked, dude, I knew a guy, this is a story, they found a way to fire him, to steal from him, and to get him permanently institutionalized in a mental health facility.
Oh yeah.
Because they were able to like manipulate the system in such a way to like literally try to call him a crazy person and prove that he was crazy, but he was just exposing people. Like,
exactly, man.
Dude,
and that would be the scariest part of being a police officer, and that's why people are like, good cops need to call out bad cops. It's like, the people that call out the cops, like, they're gonna get so bullied because that's what the cops are. For a lot of people, is the cops are bullies. And if you think about it, a lot of people that would be again, this is stereotyping, but again, being a cop is not something that you were born into. It's not the color of your skin. It's not your sexual orientation. It is something that you chose. So if you're offended by this, I don't care.
But let's be honest real quick. It's always someone's second or third choice.
Probably.
Just like a person, like a personal trainer.
Is the type of person that would be like a school bully is also probably the type of person that would want to be a cop.
Yes.
You know, like. And it's the same thing with like the type of person that wants to be president is probably like the last person you want to be president. You know what I mean? Like,
and also the type of
do you
people,
want to be president?
Hell no.
Because you're like a normal functioning person. Like I also do not want to be president. That seems like the worst job ever.
The most high stress, most responsible, least appreciated, highly criticized, least paid. Like no, ew.
Exactly.
Like ew, no.
And that's why the very
any type of government, politic, anything.
And that's why I think, honestly, in some societies, you know, like the Dalai Lama, like he's like appointed when he was like 7 or something. You know what I mean? And it's like they find someone who just like, all right, you're the guy. I almost feel like if we were to appoint someone like as a society, be like, okay, everyone, bring your heads together. Let's, from this group of people, who do you think we should just like appoint? You know what I mean? Rather than them campaigning and running and I should be president because I will do this. It's like, we should just be like, yo, Neil deGrasse Tyson would be pretty dope. And he's like, what? Really, guys? And we're like, yeah, you're really smart and cool. And he'd be like, really? You think so? And it's like, well, I guess the country wants me to be the president, so I guess I got to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Almost like Hunger Games type shit.
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting is, so right now we're still in a 2-party system, kind of 3-party, but let's be real, it's a 2-party system.
Yeah.
And we've got, you know, Trump on one side, Biden on the other, and then there's probably other Republican candidates that might jump in. We know for sure there's definitely not going to be other Democratic candidates that jump in, except for Bernie might be able to run as an independent, but he hasn't been campaigning, so probably not. But what I'm interested to see, and I think honestly this could literally happen, this current president has set a precedent that presidents do not need to be presidential or have any experience in politics, period.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Boom. So I'm saying you can literally throw anybody in this. You can throw Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in. You can throw Tom Hanks in. You can literally like grab anyone who has done anything ever. And like now be like, oh,
a homeless guy.
It's like, oh, we got a professional wrestler as a president now, and it's like, yeah, you had a reality TV star show before, okay, like, and a failed businessman. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, it is
failed, but he's still rich.
Yeah, let me put it this way. So it's like
he's failed at a lot of things, but he's still rich.
I mean, he's bankrupt himself 3 times. He has literally hundreds of bankrupted businesses. Like,
yeah, but
Trump University,
here's
Trump
the thing.
Steaks.
That's like focusing on all the. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just saying
right,
on
though.
the flip side, it's
You're
like
right.
it's like, well, he's been bankrupt. Bankruptcy is a tool that you can use. It's like, oh, well, he's on 100 failed businesses, but he's also got 200 that are still running. You know what I mean? It's like if you look at all
I'll let you go on that one.
streams
You're
of
right.
income that are failed.
So what?
Who cares? Like, that's actually a good thing. Like, people always say like fail faster, but then you want to like rip him a new asshole for like having a bunch of businesses that failed. I'm not being a Trump supporter. I'm just saying in general, calling him a failed businessman is kind of silly because it's like it's like he's still got money though.
You're right. It's like Bezos.
Failed at what?
Like Bezos
being correct.
Like Bezos himself, like Amazon is thriving, but like under the umbrella of Bezos, like how many massive failed projects has this guy gotten involved in?
Probably
like,
hundreds.
Like so many. So yeah, you're right on that one.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm just trying to say is like there are no more rules. And the thing is,
the president,
since Trump is highly experienced in lawsuits and law itself and his attorneys and the team that he has around him. I mean,
and he's got basically unlimited money to throw at a legal thing.
But I'm just even talking about the way that like the House works and the Senate work and Congress and how bills and like he just has a way of like he can do whatever he wants. Like rules don't exist anymore, and I think that's something that literally we might have to, and I might be divisive in saying this, like we might have to really take a step back and think. Like he's been talking to Putin a lot. Like there's other people that we know. Like he might be in a position where he, as the president, can change the laws that allow him to be president for longer. He might be able to change. Well, he might be able to say, "Hey, you know what? I know another person won, but I'm not giving up power. I'm allowed to still stay in the White House," and he just stays there. You know, it's really kind of scary to think about.
Because you could say like, "Oh, well, it's a national emergency, so we can't change the president or whatever."
That's what I'm saying. It's
because there have been all these weird little amendments over time. That's like, you know. Yeah, I know normally we have to do this whole system, but we know that system moves slowly. So in times of crisis or national emergency, there's a small little clause that says like the president can do this one thing. And there's been so many little instances of that where if you go, okay, well now it's national emergency, I can do whatever I want. That's pretty scary. And right now, you know, I think he's declared like what's going on, like a national emergency.
Yeah, I mean, he declared even like border crossings a national emergency. He makes everything a national emergency.
Yeah. Well, the funniest thing I think to me is that his little baby gate that he put up in front of the White House has been turned into like a giant mural for like Black Lives Matter and stuff, which is pretty funny. But also the mayor that just spent all that money to put Black Lives Matter on the street is also in his next bill or her next, I don't know who the mayor is, but in their next round of whatever they're doing their budgets, of course they've increased the police spending budget. So like people are like, hey, nice little gesture there, but we're trying to defund the police over here, so fuck you.
Yeah, it's like nice little play. And dude, that's the thing about that's why I could never be a politician, is they are manipulators and liars. Like they are, let me phrase that. They maybe not be liars, but they are truth withholders. They withhold the truth. And to me, I consider the intentional withholding of information the exact same way. It's like, it's called lying by omission. It's like, I will not directly, lie to you, but I will intentionally but
when your opposing side is playing dirty, the only way you can win is to also play dirty.
I know, but that's
what I'm saying
is like, that's why I don't like that's why I could never be in any type of political anything. That's why I don't think I could even be like a CEO of a company. Like, obviously I'm an owner of Wilson Walking. Like, we are all a part of this, there's, like, but I mean, like a big company. Like, I don't want to be in
a large, like Fortune 500.
I don't want to be any type of politicking, schmoozing, shaking hands, kissing babies, manipulating this, manipulating that. I don't know. I just don't. It goes against everything I believe in. It's
you
like,
don't want to kiss babies, bro?
No, dude, no kissing babies. I'm not Epstein, okay? I'm not trying to kiss babies over here. Oh, by the way, Epstein didn't kill himself. Okay.
No, he did not.
And that's also kind of terrifying to think about. It's like he was the fixer, but he got into a position where he was about to, narc on everyone. And it's like, he definitely isn't the only one. Just because one faucet got turned off doesn't mean all the water isn't still flowing.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I was going to kind of like talk about this earlier, but when we were talking about Candace Owens, but I am very curious about the idea of like a quote unquote deep state, like of who is the puppet master pulling the strings? Who are these guys? Like, oh, this happened.
Like,
oh,
who's
mysteriously,
really the person in
this
power?
person died. Oh, what happened though? Oh, mysteriously, all those security cameras turned off. Oh, like El Chapo escaped. Oh, the security cameras were turned off. What happened? And it's like, there's always, I think we all want to believe there's like some mysterious Soros guy, globalist guy that's like pulling all the strings.
Some
and
magic
blah, blah, blah.
puppet master.
I mean,
and
some like
a
Alex
bunch of guys
Jones type
sitting
shit.
in a room, sitting cigars, smoking, going, we got 'em, boys.
Do I believe that there is a group of people like that? Probably. Like, I wouldn't put it past reality for something like that to happen. I mean, we've seen all kinds of crazy stuff going on this year.
We've seen insane things.
I would not put it past a group of, very powerful people to get together and figure out how to run the world. I don't think that that's out of the question. But the thing that's funny is when people try to like always make that the explanation. My friend Keaton, he shared a video with me yesterday about this guy that was like explaining this whole situation. Like, so you've got Soros and Hillary Clinton and this person.
Did you say Hillary Clinton?
No, maybe that was a Freudian slip. Yeah, you've got Hillary Clinton, but she's also Hillary Clinton. And then you've got Black Lives Matter. And then you've got all the news organizations. And actually all of them are working together in cahoots, blah, 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 blah. And I was kind of saying like, yes, I don't disagree with a lot of what this guy's saying, but the thing about Black Lives Matter
let's look
is
at Occam's razor real fast.
Yeah, it's
let's
like the thing about you can go, why is all this happening? Let's follow the money. Why is all this happening? Why is there a bigger illusion? Why is Black Lives Matter taking off? Why is all this? And it's like, let's follow the money. Oh, it's gotta be this. And I go, and he goes, I respectfully want to hear your opinion on this video because my friend sent it to me, and we had gotten into it back and forth earlier in the week. And what I said was, while I don't 100% disagree with what this guy's saying, I do think it's like, hey, let's back up and follow the money. Actually, let's back up and look at history. Because the reason why all this is happening is not because of like all these puppet masters currently. It's because you've got a group of people that for 450 years were oppressed by legally oppressed, like literally by the entire government. No reparations were made, built on land that was stolen from Native Americans that were also oppressed and brutalized and all that. And it's like, hey, no wonder the pot is boiling over at this point, because all of this has been boiling for 450, 500, 600 years. Like, it's silly to think like, oh, it's because Antifa and these guys are like pulling on. No. Do I think they're part of it? Of course. But like, the reason why all this is happening is because there has been major injustices and major things that have not been addressed. It's kind of like when you sweep everything under the rug, over time, the rug is going to be so piled high from all the stuff you swept under it. Like, you can't just sweep all this stuff under the rug and just like expect people to forget about it.
Yeah, I believe strongly in Occam's razor, which states that the simplest explanation is usually the right explanation. And that being said, you can look into things like Karl Khashoggi, and if anyone knows anything about Karl Khashoggi, he was a journalist at the Washington Post. He was a Syrian passport holder who made it to the U.S. and was very critical of Saudi Arabia and was very critical of Islam. And the Saudi Arabian government was like, hey, in order to, we got to renew your passport and you have to do it in person. You've been gone for 10 years, whatever. So he shows up, his girl's in the car, he shows up and then vanishes, gone. And people were like, what happened? And basically the investigation turned out that 10 hitmen from a different country flew in to the embassy. He was going to meet people in Saudi Arabia. So the Saudi Arabian embassy in Turkey, I think it was, flew in and tortured him, cut him up into pieces in a bone saw, put his body parts in briefcases, jumped back on the plane that they were on and flew away with his body and disposed of it somewhere else. And by the time the police got there, the entire place had been doused in bleach. Like the entire place reeked of chemicals. Like it had been completely swept, wiped clean top to bottom. Security cameras didn't work. Cell phones were gone. Like straight up some Breaking Bad shit. Like gnarly wicked. And it's like, oh, there's powerful people that can make other people disappear very quickly. And I think in other countries, maybe they're a bit more bold. Maybe they're a bit more audacious. Maybe they're a bit more powerful. They know that dude, I'm the Saudi Arabian prince. I can kill whoever I want, and I'll chop him up into bits. He's been critical
money
of
can
what
make
we're
anything
doing.
happen.
And I think
people will do anything for money.
In the United States, in America, I think it's done more sneakily. For example, and there's a whole conspiracy theory based on this, like Princess Diana crashing her car, or JFK getting shot in the head, or Epstein dying in prison by accident, by suicide. There's just way,
or even anything that we're talking about with people of color, oh, a cop killed a black guy, let's just cover it up because people know cops kill black guys all the time. It's not that big of a deal. Let's just sweep it under the rug and write a false report about how he was resisting arrest and that we found drugs on him or something and he had a weapon.
Just like Dave Chappelle goes,
sprinkle some crack on him. Sprinkle some crack on him.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Literally.
Yeah, and I guess I'm saying all that to say is powerful people with powerful connections and an unlimited bank account can literally accomplish anything they want, and that includes murdering. For sure. And I am very close with someone who is very close to the Clinton administration. And
I'm very close to a person who's very close to a person who's very close to Clinton.
Yeah. They work together, and that's literally all I'm going to say. But I asked him, I was like, hey, man, do you think it's possible that they could get rid of some bodies? And he goes, honestly, he's like, I know them pretty well. I don't think they would or would be capable of stuff like that. He goes, however, if they wanted to, probably. He goes, you'd be shocked at the amount of things that actually happen.
Well, there's also I think it's probably not Hillary going, hey, kill this guy. It's probably her having some sort of fixer guy that's just her problem solver guy. It's hey, there's a problem going on. Can you fix it? Almost kind of like in Breaking Bad, Mike. Yeah. Mike is the dirty word.
She's got a mic.
And she's probably just got a mic who's just always watching her back and oh, this guy's got some shit. Let's off him real quick. And then she doesn't need to know. She doesn't even need to know. I don't even need to tell her that it happened. I'll just say everything's good in the world. It's kind of shit,
there's
dude.
There's a nod.
This is another reason why police are so angry about what's happening too, because they know some shit. Dude, I have a friend who's a NYPD police officer and he works in the anti-terrorism division. And literally
they know some shit.
Oh, they know some shit. And he's like, dude, there's been some close calls where the public does not know, but there have been some close calls where we almost had to do some shit. There's been some really close calls over the years, and it's the job of the military is to protect us and all that, but also it's to maintain the peace and make sure that those things don't affect the daily lives of Americans. Because you can see even something as simple as the pandemic or these protests, it uproots society. Things stop. The gears of society, there's this thin veil on top of society that everything is all hunky-dory. But it takes just a couple of people peeling back.
It takes one cog to break.
And Trevor Noah talked about this societal contract that we have. And it's as soon as people feel that contract is no longer benefiting them, why should they abide by the rules of society? Like, there's no
true.
reason for them. That's why people were looting and rioting. It's like, there's no benefit to this. That's not how society works. Society hasn't been working for these people anyways. Why should they not loot? Why should they not? Like, because doing it or not doing it, they're still sitting in this terrible broken system. So anyways, I think going back to a point that I was trying to make a while ago that I keep getting away from, but it's like, when you look, like Candace Owens made this video talking about the stats, and she's like, if you look at the stats,
is that really popular video, that 9 million view video that
I think it's more now.
But she
at the beginning, she discredits George Floyd and tries to say, why do black people always make the lowest common denominator people the martyrs? Why are we trying to why do we exalt criminals as these people that we're trying to free? Why do we blah, 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 blah. Parts of it, I can get behind. It's like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be making all these people a martyr, but the problem is,
but police aren't killing regular people.
And the thing that she says is, did you say regular people? The thing that she said,
that was the wrong choice of words.
That's like saying like able-bodied people are normal or something. But anyways, Candace,
don't clip me, people. Sorry,
we know what you meant. Candace lays out this argument of saying, well, if you look at statistics, you are just as likely as a white man to be brutalized by the police.
That's not right, though.
The numbers
are off.
But if you adjust for like the percentage of the population and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, that's fine if you're gonna quote those statistics, whatever. Maybe I haven't looked deep into it enough to know whether that's right or wrong or not. Here's the thing though. We already know that the police do not properly report police brutality. We saw the old man get pushed down just a couple days ago. An old white man was trying to return a helmet to the police, and they shoved him to the ground.
Cracked his head.
He was bleeding from his ear.
Concussion.
And the police report said a bystander tripped and fell. That is how they reported that man getting injured by the police.
When there's videos of him clearly being
So when
pushed.
they know they're being filmed, they will still misreport. They will still not admit fault. And that's the problem, like we were saying, with the internal police investigations and writing your own, things that go wrong. If you're brutalizing someone and you know it's not right and you step back and you're like, dude, that was fucked up. Are you gonna write that down? No. You're going to say he was resisting arrest. I had to use necessary force. He had a weapon, blah, blah, blah. Sprinkle some crack on him and call it a day. Literally. And so that's why those statistics, when you go, well, guys, why are we making this a race issue? This is not a race issue. It's a police brutality issue. And the thing is, the bottom line, you're just as likely to get brutalized by the police as a white man as you are as a black man. And that's simply, even if you want to make that argument, I can get behind it because it's like, yeah, I agree.
That means, white people join the fight.
Exactly. Like, police brutality is fucked up. And if you look at other countries, they don't have nearly the amount of murders. So let's all get behind it and abolish the police and figure out a new system. And I'm not saying abolish law enforcement or public safety. I'm saying abolish the police as we know it.
Yeah, that term was like a really poorly chosen word. Whoever decided to say...
Or even defund. But people are saying reform, and we've been trying to reform, and the thing is we need to burn the system to the ground and find a new one. It's not going to happen overnight, but slowly and slowly and slowly, we need to take funds from police and put them back into other things.
Yeah.
Because we know that, why are the police so needed in low-income areas? Oh, maybe because their schools are bad, their education is bad.
Drug addiction problems, mental health issues.
All these different things.
Yeah.
If we pump that money back into these communities by investing in better schools, investing in all kinds of different things, we can fix these problems rather than using police as a tax collector to, literally by the systematic jailing and all we need prison reform. We need all these things. Anyways, but the point I'm making is, If Candace Owens wants to pull from these stats of saying, well, if you look at the stats of police brutality, you can't look at stats of police brutality because we know the police do not report properly.
Yeah.
Who else is going to... We're looking at the police they're not going to tell on themselves. We know this. We know that they don't even do it when there's white people. We saw that last week with the white dude that got pushed down.
They even turn off body cams for everybody.
We saw it today with Breonna Taylor's investigation. It said here, injuries were none. Like, we know the police are corrupt as fuck, so why would we use that as evidence? And people go, well, if you're just going to say you can't look at any stats, then why do we look at any stats regarding anything else? It's like... I get it, but Candace Owens is also an avid climate change denier. you look at this, she denies scientific consensus. Like, she cannot be trusted with anything. She's an idiot. Like, and people like worship the ground she stands on because she finally a smart, articulate black woman who's really saying what we're all thinking. No, she's just siding with fucking racists and using the stats to prove points that further her agenda. Like, and it just makes me upset. But that's my take on that.
AJ, you were trying to say something.
Have y'all ever seen Making a Murderer? Dude, so...
Oh, yeah, that's the guy, yeah.
Basically, what happened was this guy got framed for murder by the police. And there was one part in the TV show where they found blood in the car where he supposedly killed her. And they tested the blood, and it was like someone else's blood or something like that.
They just found
and
blood
they'll
and,
just
that
say-
happened not too long ago.
Yeah, and the thing is
and
like,
that was a white guy,
there's
too.
no incentive for them to find the truth. The incentive is to get the public's eye to stop being on them and to get everyone to shut up.
Well, I was going to say, like, that's the whole thing. The truth is not the incentive. The incentive is to prove their innocence, even if that is not true. And that's where I go back to this whole, like, internal investigation / police investigations are useless, worthless, dumb pieces of shit. And if anybody falls for that trick, you're an idiot too. The second you stop fighting for something because someone goes, we're opening up an investigation. Like, I can't tell you how many...
But that's not happening with the protests right now, bro.
How many gigantic corporations, how many police forces, how many times in your lifetime, I think about my life, I'm not that old, I'm 31. Dude, like, even like when there's like crazy government corruptions or like this problem or like that problem, it's like investigations in that context, internal, like they don't mean anything because the person / people / entity that is conducting the actual investigation is focusing on their best interests only. So they will manipulate that data as much as they possibly can.
It's like when you get into a car accident. Let's say I have State Farm and you have State Farm. We get into a car accident together. The insurance company, it's in their best interest to give us the least amount of money and save them the most.
Yeah, the insurance makes the most and pays the least. That is their job.
And in a normal thing that would happen, let's say you have like Geico or something, and I crash into you, Geico's going to fight to get the most money from State Farm. But when it's like both of us have the same insurance company, they'll say that they're like, well, it's different people in different parts of the company, and they're going to, we're still going to fight for you the same way as if we were fighting against another company.
Nope.
Sure. I'll believe it when I fucking see it. Because you can say all you want. You can say all you want on one side, but actions speak louder than words, 100%. And that's the funny thing about a lot of these politicians.
Don't
it's
get
like
duped.
You get a lot of lip service. You get a lot of police like kneeling, we stand in solidarity with you, and then 2 hours later you see them tear gassing their fucking citizens.
Like, I appreciate the sentiment when the cops are kneeling, but
we don't need thoughts and prayers anymore, motherfucker.
It's like, shut the fuck up, go away. Like, just it's too late. It's too late. You're too late.
It's too little, too late.
You're too late to the game.
And you were saying earlier, like, Sean King is like doing great work. I am fully behind what Sean King is doing right now. I initially dismissed him because there was attacks on his character, and there were attacks on, like, people were saying like, oh, he's not even black, and like kind of like pulling the whole what was that lady?
Rachel Dolezal.
He was pulling a Rachel Dolezal. Haha, he's a clown. He shouldn't be listened to. Blah blah blah. But I've been really appreciating what he's been doing because he and a group of people have founded this thing called Grassroots Law. We like briefly talked about it, I think, with your sister.
Yeah.
But Grassroots Law is like thoroughly documenting all of these things, like all these videos that you've been seeing of like police brutality
it's like
against
a cataloged
people.
library.
They are the ones that are like, yo, find this man, do this. We are logging this with Grassroots Law, blah, 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 blah. And they have like an army of all these volunteers. Like, I signed up to be a volunteer. You can literally just online volunteer with Grassroots Law because a lot of it is data collection. A lot of it is like just entering in random stuff. You can volunteer your time at home. You don't even have to like go out on the street and protest with Grassroots Law. Like, and it's cool. What's cool is they've got all these years, they're working with lawyers that specifically work with instances of police brutality. Like, I'm pretty sure the lawyer for Breonna Taylor is also the same lawyer for Ahmaud Arbery and also the same lawyer for George Floyd's family. Like, the same guy is working on behalf of all these different cases right now.
Conglomerate of people that want justice.
Yeah, it's amazing because, like, I think before everyone gets outraged and everyone posts these videos on social media, but who's taking a stand? Who's fighting for these people? Who's, and finally it seems like they're really doing something to like make a real change. And I would definitely recommend following Sean King. His name is spelled differently than normal Sean. It's like Shaun.
It's like
Sean King. But he also has a podcast called The Breakdown. It's pretty short. Typically, they're like 15-minute episodes. I'd also recommend going and listening to those. I've listened to like 5 or 6 of them in the past week or so. They're really interesting because he talks all about what's happening currently, but also his profession is he was a history teacher. So he'll give episodes that are like history lessons and showing why history is repeating itself and all this kind of stuff. He's really smart, and I should not have dismissed him when I did, and I'm glad that I'm like following him now. But anyways, yeah, Sean King's the shit. Want to move on from this topic?
Yeah. So we've got since we
got some wheels to walking stuff. So last week we didn't get to talk about our go-karting video at all.
It was so great. Oh my God.
Which was one of the sickest videos that we've done in a really long time. We had Mr. Steele. That made the video. Like the FPV footage made the video.
And I know this to be fact because I looked on YouTube when I was doing all of the ranking and tagging and stuff, and all of the karting videos aren't that great. There's first person view from like GoPros, and there's like standing on the side of the track, but there's no like chasing, there's no FPV, there's no aerial. Like our video might be honestly the best video karting has ever seen.
Well, Mr. Steele's is probably a little bit better just because there's more FPV footage.
But yeah. I guess that's what I mean is and what's really cool is our video on Facebook is being shared in massive karting groups like all around the US, and even like in like national karting groups, and like people are like commenting, and it's really cool to see, and people are tagging people, and everyone's getting all these cool recognitions, and like people are trying to like flex on who they know, being like, OMG, I worked with Race Bionics at the 24-hour, and they like post up a picture of like them working together.
And there's also like a little bit of like weird drama too. I don't know how much we can get into, but there's been some controversy with that video.
There are me as an entity, a person who knew a person who got us in, a person who knew and the person who got us in knew someone else, and then both of those guys were also like knew like the track. So between me, the track, and like 3 other people, I guess our video was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like
there's already tension between all those entities.
A lot of tension and apparent,
and even tension with the members of the track too.
Yeah, they
didn't really like the drone stuff.
There was a lot of tension. There was a lot of withheld truth.
Yeah,
there was a lot of like personal gain and personal advantage, which is fine. It's just like it's so interesting because like I go in there. And I'm like, hey, person I know who's got connections to the track, I want to make a video. Can you connect us with someone who can help us make a video with the hand controls? Yeah, sure. He also knows people at the track who can get things done. So let's get everything in order so when we show up, everything's perfect. And from our perspective, that shoot went smooth. It was good all the way throughout the day. It was only until it got released that I started getting emails and text messages and phone calls of like of this infighting, and I'm like, what did I just do? Like, wow. Like there is so much fighting right now. Well, and like I'm not taking sides because I have my own personal experience with each individual person. I'm not a sides taker. And I've reached out to all of them but one, but I still need to do that. Because I just want to like figure out like what the fuck went wrong? Like who didn't say what to who about what? Who thought they could do something that they couldn't do? Who said this was okay when it wasn't okay? Like what the fuck happened? Because honestly, I want to go karting again. And honestly, I don't know who to call anymore. I don't know who to text. I don't know how to get involved anymore.
True.
Because potentially...
Not even for a video, just we want to go karting.
Because potentially, I might have burned by accident like 4 bridges. Like I had no idea. And I'm like, cool. But it's like, I guess...
I don't know if anyone's really mad at you though, right?
No one is mad at me, but I'm the reason why everyone's mad.
Oh yeah, of course.
No, like no one is. No, if anything, everyone's really happy with the video, and it
kind of reminds me of like the Hype House drama, where like the one dude and the girl Daisy, like Thomas and Daisy, founded Hype House, but every time there was like press or anything, it was like Thomas just being like, "Yo, I founded the Hype House," and Daisy's over here in the corner like, "Yo, I founded it too, and I fronted all the money. What the fuck are you talking about?" And then Entertainment Tonight is like, "Oh, we're gonna run a whole story, and we didn't include Daisy crazy at all. And so then everyone from the public is just like, oh, Thomas is this really smart businessman. He's running the hype house. He fronted all the money. He's just like the puppet master of everything. And then Daisy's over here like, hey guys, I'm going to make a video and destroy all of you. And like, that was like, Porter's like, yo, I invented hand controls and blah, blah, blah. And then like some random dude's like, yo, motherfucker, they stole those designs from me. What up? And like email you, you know, like all kinds of weird stuff.
It was, again, I'm not going to name names because I don't like names, but it was like
I'm going to call you Tard.
Yeah.
I don't like names.
Retard. So the technology that was used that was claimed by a particular company was actually developed by some other guy like 2 years ago, and then it is the messiest. It is so messy.
It's just drama.
It is so like even in the comment sections, like people are like leaving like the shittiest hate, and I reply and I'm like, I detect shade, like what's going on here? And then they'll like leave me like a really long comment about like what's going on and like tag other people, and then those other people will jump in the comments, and I'm like, good Lord, like what is going on? But it's basically, wait a minute, so it's one, oh dude, Jesus, okay, like 7 people almost, like it's
are mad.
Like it is insane. And
you said during the day that we shot, we didn't detect any weirdness. I did detect some weirdness.
There was one, I just thought it was because he was socially awkward.
Same.
I just thought, and he'd been described to me that way. They say he's really like head smart. He knows how to
really nice guy though.
He's really nice guy.
Very
He knows how to put things on paper, but in person he's not so social.
He didn't want to be on camera, but it also seemed like he didn't want to be on camera because also he knew that there was fuckery, and he's like, I don't want to be affiliated with this video at all because I know that like this is not cool.
Well, he was also the person who said this is not cool, but the person he said this is not cool to didn't relay that to me or to other people. It's like,
he was actively encouraging us to do all of the things in the video, and also anyways, we don't need to say any more about the drama, but basically that video stirred up a lot of controversy.
It was quite possibly the coolest video I've done. Maybe it compares to, I want to say, the off-road video we did in New York. That was really fun too. But anyway, so it was so sick. I want to do it again so bad, but I don't know who to contact because it's like one person owns the property.
I think you should probably contact the people that you think are mad.
Yeah, so it's like one person owns the property, but one person manages and installs the particular property, but one person like this and that and yada 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 yada. I personally don't have beef with anybody because honestly, like I didn't get in trouble, but I feel like a lot of people had a lot of tension and a lot of lack of communication and a lot of assumption and they're also really young too. A lot of people are young. So it's like there's like all this beef and like even stuff that we thought we had like clearance and like permission for that we totally did not have clearance and permission for.
I think it was kind of one of those things where we knew that it was, we always say ask for forgiveness, not permission type thing. So we were kind of like in that day, we're like, oh, this guy said we could do it. Okay, cool. I'm not going to ask anyone else because I don't know if this guy has permission to say it.
But I'm not going to ask any more questions.
He said that we could do it, so...
Not asking any more questions.
I'm going to do it, and if that guy gets in trouble, then he gets in trouble, not us, because he said we could do it.
Well, and what's interesting is like I remember each individual person I talked to that had any particular role in this video in any way, shape, or form, I talked to for probably 2 to 5 minutes specifically about permissions. I was like, are you sure this is okay? Are you positive we've got the green light? Is this going to cause any problems? Is anyone going to be mad? Is this okay? Yada, yada. Like, I remember repeatedly, like over and over. And even before the video got released, I called everybody and was like, yo, I just want to verify that everything's okay. Because like some other random third party like reached out to me and was like, hey, I'd love to see your video and show it to our management team. And I'm like, oh, someone's about to get in trouble. So I like contacted someone else. I'm like, I always get shady when people are talking about checking out our videos before we release it and like talking to management about things.
Oh, before it came out,
before it even came out, someone like some rando like reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we heard that you did a video and we wanted to just check it out real quick." And I'm like,
"Guess what? Nope. You see it when everyone else sees it."
I was like, "Ooh, this ain't good." So I remember again, I made a second round. I called everybody a second time. I was like, "Are you sure this is fine? Are you sure this is fine? Are you sure this is fine? Are you sure this is fine?" They're like, "Yeah."
After we filmed it?
Yeah.
Oh snap!
Like I did it like like a second roll. I like made sure I'm doubling down on like making sure that this is okay. And literally the one thing that this video actually made me realize that we might need to start doing whenever we do videos of that caliber again is consent forms. We might need to get like some type of like little documentation that like they write.
Yeah, you can easily get like templates off of that.
Yeah, that are just simply like, hey, anything that happens in this video, you're responsible for if anything goes wrong. You know, like you need to sign this.
Yeah, for sure.
But then again, people are always super cautious. Be like, whoa, wait a minute. What does this mean? Oh, I'm not going to do the video with you. That's the problem about doing YouTube videos, man. The second you start making it like professional and real and like
that was why I never signed anything with podcasts. Because the thing is sometimes people will come on a podcast and then they'll say something that they didn't mean to say or they realize that they shouldn't have said, and it's like, yo, dude, you came here. You came on my show. You said the thing. You have to own that. And it only happened a couple times that I had to take episodes down.
But there was also times when you told them no too, right? There was a couple.
The thing is like, here's what I feel weird about. Okay, so for example, I had this one guy. He talked about his company in vague terms.
Very vague.
And then people figured out that he was the CEO of that company. And so he goes, hey man, can you take the podcast down? People are figuring out that I'm the CEO of this company. I didn't want people to figure it out. And on one hand, I'm like, no, I like that episode. I want people to be able to hear that episode. It's a great episode. I want to keep it up. But I also want to maintain my friendship with you. I don't want you to hate me. I don't want you to have bad blood towards me. I don't want this to be a point of conflict where like later on down the road, you are, talking behind my back about things. So I'm just going to do what's easy and just take it down.
And there was also
actually there has been a couple times where I didn't take it down. Someone asked me, they were like, hey, I want to do a second podcast with you, but do you think you could take the first one down because a lot of my opinions and views have changed?
I remember that
and
one.
I was like,
nah,
no, because that's the point.
Is you evolve.
A podcast is a time capsule. There's things that I've said on podcasts that I 100% don't agree with anymore.
Same, bro. Like some of the things that we said, like in our BTS podcast on Patreon, like I go back and listen
to. Which you can still listen to, by the way, if you are a patron.
Yeah, if you're it takes $1, so go back and listen to it. But
big barrier to entry.
Yeah, and I'll be like on episode 7, I'll be like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, why did I say that like that? Why did I even mention that? Yeah, there's been a lot of things I've said on podcasts. They're like, that was not a hot take. That was a terrible take. But you learn and you grow. And I think that's kind of the point of like releasing so many episodes is people can change. I mean, I think I've seen this thing going around online recently that's like normalize changing your opinion when presented with new information.
That's something
that's a big thing.
That I have been fortunate enough and lucky enough to get better and better and better and better and better at over the years. I mean, even example of our argument that we had just before the podcast started. Like as soon as I was like, you're right, and just shut the fuck up because it was true, and like. A lot of people have a lot of ego in their opinion. A lot of people have a lot of identity in their opinion. A lot of people, it's like, that's the whole point of being like an explorer, like a learner, like the mystery, like a scientist is like, the mystery is in what you don't know. So the second you are presented with new facts that prove you wrong, instead of going, no, I am right, and having cognitive dissonance and standing your ground and fighting that opinion more, to me, it's more noble to go, damn, you know what? You were right. You are so right. As a matter of fact, thanks. I appreciate that
and as a matter of fact, I will denounce the things I said previously. I'll admit that I was wrong in the past. I'll publicly shame my past self.
Yup.
Dude, that takes a lot of humility. I think a lot of people are coming out. I mean, shit, the NFL did that this week. And
it was super corporate. They did not say sorry, Colin. They
didn't say sorry, Colin, but what they did do is there was a group of NFL players that had a specific list of demands of things they wanted the NFL to say, and they said all the things. Like they said all the things that the players wanted them to say. The one thing they haven't done is an official apology to Colin Kaepernick himself, but they walked back a lot of things. And it's funny because Donald Trump was one of the biggest like driving forces
like
towards all that. Like, don't disrespect our troops. You can protest this way, but you can't protest this way, blah, 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 blah. And it's like,
don't disrespect the flag, yada,
the
yada.
point of a protest, Chris D'Elia said it. The point of a protest
is to do it.
You do it when you're not supposed to protest. You're like, excuse me, can I protest? That's not a fucking protest. You protest when you know there's eyeballs on you, and that's exactly what Kaepernick did. It was never about the flag. It was about the fact that he felt like the United States represented something that he couldn't stand for until there was equality for all. And I think a lot of people are waking up to that fact. There's still a lot of people doubling down. I've seen people, again, we're getting back into this whole Black Lives Matter thing, but the people protesting against the protests,
well,
like Trump supporters.
What cracks me up is
just teams.
Is the people that were with their guns, by the way, were protesting the
opening of the economy,
the closing of the economy. They were like, screw you, you can't tell me what to do, I want a haircut, I'm gonna stay outside, there's no curfews, don't tread on me, Second Amendment, First Amendment, I'll shoot you in the face, leave me alone, government can't tell me what to do. A week and a half later, well, I don't understand why people can't go inside and just obey the law, and why do they have to be protesting? They should just go inside. If they don't want to get hurt, they should just not do this. And it's like, oh, you literally just flipped. You're a little dude.
This is the meme.
Yes,
it's 3 weeks ago, and it's a giant dog. It's like the doggo meme, and it's like 3 weeks ago. I am a citizen with rights. I refuse to be told what to do. You want me to stay inside? Come here and make me today. And it's like a dog on a computer, and it's like, guys, come on. There's a curfew. You gotta go inside. The cop said you gotta go home. Come on.
No, and that's seriously. That's one of the things that honestly, bro. Like I don't like to get too political and stuff, but why? And I'm not even going to say which side. Why are some people just so fucking spineless? Why are some people that they're so
That's
fucking,
on both sides, bro.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not even saying left or right. I'm not saying what you believe in or what you don't believe in. But why are some people just so fucking spineless to the point where, like, if something is happening that benefits them, they will argue and fight to the death about it. The second it does not benefit them, they are immediate critics of it. And it's like, you are a slimy ball of shit. Like, some fucking people, dude. Like, get a backbone, bro.
I think really the worst is when people are always just against everything, but they don't stand for anything. I think that's like one of the biggest plagues facing America right now is there's so many people,
and people got
that
Facebook.
Are so ready to talk shit, but they don't actually stand up for anything that's hard or that they really believe in. Because standing against something is kind of easy to do a lot of times, especially when you're in the court of public opinion. But
everyone else is standing against it too.
And standing for what is right in the face of adversity is really hard. And yeah, I think a lot of people, could take a lot. We need to normalize that changing your opinion is fine. What you've said in your past is not you. That is an opinion. People change. Things change. You can change. I mean, shit, we talk about it all the time on Wheels to Walking. You create a new compelling future. You become a different person. You don't have to stay the same person. You can literally change. We were gonna cover a couple more topics. We're kind of running out of time.
We are
running out. We've ran out of time.
Yeah.
But you can change yourself in the gym. You can change yourself, all kinds of different ways. But I think we take. Yeah.
I'll just do
everyone can take something from that.
A real quick thing before we cut. You're talking about change, and a lot of people maybe want to change but don't know how to change. And for me, one of the things that I've learned, it has to do with diet. And I'm not just talking about the diet that you feed yourself with food. I'm talking about what you consume, and that means books, that means TV shows, that means
what you consume with your mouth. I'm talking about food again.
Yeah, but like
mentally,
what books you read, what TV shows you watch, what news the people you hang out with, the things you talk about, like start thinking about what your mind does and what you're doing with it, and like ask yourself, like, is this making me be the same person, or is this
challenging my beliefs?
So a real quick example, and again, I know we're out of time, but like I remember when I was going through a real bad depression, one of my favorite things to do was look at depression memes. I had like a website and like a folder and like a thread, and I would just go through and look at depression memes, and I would laugh my ass off, and that shit was hilarious. But it was so relatable and it was so entertaining that I almost wanted to like stay depressed so I could continue to like enjoy it.
And people like to stay oppressed too because they kind of enjoy it. I think people get stuck in their rut.
Yeah, and I found myself going, I love this website. I love these memes. I love this community. But if I want to not be depressed anymore, I have to separate myself from this. And I remember like taking the app off my phone and like logging out of it. And I remember I had like cravings. Like I wanted to like press the button. I would go on my web browser. I would cheat. You know, I would do everything I possibly could. But then once I got better and I wasn't depressed, I was like, okay, cool. Like I can go back to this. Like I can't wait to go check out my depression memes. Dude, I cannot relate at all. They are not funny to me at all. They're just nothing but toxic. And I just like kept going down this rabbit hole and I'm like, ew, I don't want to be here anymore. Like this sucks. Yeah. So that's just an example of something you can consume. So just think about like, I mean, everything from YouTubers to TV shows to Friends. I mean, I'm just beating a dead horse right now, but whatever you put into your brain from your ears and your eyes.
I'm just kidding.
Was that an axe? Did you hatchet the
horse?
horse?
I was beating the dead horse.
Were you chopping the horse?
No, this is my club. I'm in the dead horse club. I have a club and I'm beating the dead horse.
Remember when the big problem was like, don't club seals and save the whales?
I guess so. I don't remember. Either way.
Yeah, that is really disturbing.
I'm not that old.
Let's beat this dead horse. Follow us on places.
Bye.
Bye.